Hi, thanks for joining me on Wilderness with Monty. I'm out at the Middle Fork of the Feather River out by the town of Gray Eagle, and I just finished fishing for Wilderness with the Monty Patreon, and I was using a jig. I got some nice rainbows in the net, but I saw a spot up there. I think I can exploit with my fly rod. I want to go see if I can't do a quick hit and get something quick on my fly rod for my YouTube subscribers. The reason I come out here in the winter is no one comes out here and fishes when it's 30 degrees. And that's when I like to usually come out and fish. There's people posted up in some of the best moving water spots. So I'm gonna go see if I can't work something out in a spot that's not so obvious, surrounded by bushes, but there's fish there. And I'm just going to be fishing a nymph. This is one of maybe 6 nymphs I have on me. So it's a barbless nymph. And I'm going to start out with a 5-foot leader. 5-foot, 4-pound fluorocarbon leader. Just straight up tied to my line, tie the nymph on there. Because I'm going to be surrounded by bushes, and it's going to be roll casting and doing some high angle casting. And I'm just going to see if I can't get a quick fish in the net for you guys. So let's go see. I mean, if you already had a decent morning of fishing, why not get greedy? It was just Memorial Day weekend, and I'm sure this place was hammered. I'm sure everywhere got hammered. A lot of creeks just opened the Saturday before Memorial Day. And the down here can be pretty good. I think that got so much fishing pressure this weekend. I fished there for like an hour and a half this morning. I didn't get anything. Had a couple fish follow my jig, but it wasn't until I pushed my way upstream that I was able to run into something. I'm definitely on rattlesnake high alert. There's no doubt about that. It's warm today, and I'm gonna try to fight my way to the mountains real soon, because this is the kind of fishing I like to do in November, December, January. As long as the water's clear, I can deal with the ice. This isn't my first choice of spots. Sometimes in life you just gotta take what you can get. And I'm gonna be looking for fish that are hanging out close to the edge, feeding in the bushes, and stuff that I can roll cast to, because I'm just surrounded by bushes. And it makes it a little bit difficult. Difficult ain't impossible. I think there's one out there who's rising. Get out as far as I can. I don't want to get caught in these bushes behind me, though. One thing's clear, they do not like this beadhead. Because I saw a couple fish and they didn't go anywhere near it. They swam right by it, so I gotta find something that looks a little bit more. They're not crazy about this fly, but I got one to take it, that's for sure. Woo, and he's jumping. He's leaping. He's going crazy. And I got that little 5-foot leader. I think I'm gonna switch to something that doesn't have a bead head on it, because these fish are being real spooky. But these rainbows are wild. They're hard fighting fish. And as long as I can get one sucker, participant, I'm happy. And my reel's all jacked up because I didn't thread the line properly. I don't want to stand too close to the water because I don't want to spook the spot. But these rainbows fight, man. They fight hard. I barely got him. Ugh. But barely's good enough. So I'm gonna let this guy sit in the net for a little bit. Power back up. This is actually a hatchery fish. I didn't know they stocked a lot of fish in there. The fish I was getting this morning were all wild. They had the pink fins and the full fins. This guy's got the rearing tank signs on his tail end. Let's take a look. It's a nice rainbow. Getting back in the water. Well, this long handle net allows me to reach over the bushes and get them without having to really spook the spot, because the fish are really scary. And I'm just using this little bead head right here, and most of them are swimming right by it. Because this still water, they just have a lot of time to look at it. So they're feeding on something on the surface. So I got this nymph that has no bead head. My next spot, and I looked down and my line was just shooting out, man. Completely just blew it. I'm always looking for the next thing, and then right when I looked away, my line was just shooting, because I don't use an indicator, so I just got to watch my line. And that was a real aggressive hit, and I just completely blew it and just choked. Hear that sound? That's called choking. Guy took it. And this is one of the wild ones. Let me get over here. It's a little better for landing fish. And I'm just casting out as far as I can, letting it drift, and when my line stops going, I set the hook. And it seems like they're into grabbing it when it's down. Woo! There we go. They're into grabbing it when it's down by the bottom, and that's when the action hits. And this guy's got some good spunk to him, boy. And this is a patience game. I'm not a big patience guy, but obviously when push comes to shove, I can be patient. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, he said no, not yet, buddy. He said no, not yet. Ah! Yes, this is a beautiful wild fish right here. So I'll let him sit in the net for a couple seconds. As long as they're thrashing around, I'm ready to let him go. See, he's already fighting his way through the net. The water's really cold. I fought him hard, but even though he's ready to go, there's a lot of river otters here, so I don't like to let fish go until they got some good relaxation in. But this guy's got the pink fins with the little white tips. He's got the beautiful markings. Let me get my hands wet, and I'll hold him up for a second, and we'll get him back in the river. There you go. Look at the beautiful gill plate on that guy. He's got his full fins, beautiful rainbow trout. And he just shot right back out. And so I'm trying to use my net and stay as low as I possibly can so I don't spook these guys, because these guys are really scared. I'm casting from a little bit back in the bushes, and then when I hook them, I come up. So it's just, I'll show you what I was doing. It's real basic. But what I'm doing is I'm just flicking it as far up as I can right there, and then I just watch my line. I don't have a strike indicator, but my leader's only 5 feet long. So I can see my line, and then I'll mend it a little bit, let it drift down, and as soon as that thing shoots out, I just set. Anything looks suspicious, I gotta set, because it's not so cut and dry when you don't got a strike indicator on there. It's sometimes it's a little bit of a hook set, sometimes it's a big hit, sometimes it just goes dink dink. So you really just, anything that looks suspicious, you gotta go. I'm not sold that this nymph with no bead head is any better than the bead head. It's getting about the same amount of attention. And the bead head's just easier because it sinks faster, and it makes my line sink too. And I could just detect strikes with a bead head better than with this thing. But I'm gonna drift it a couple more times. Those trees, I put on this big fly that I found on the ground, and immediately there was a lot of interest in it. Immediately there was a lot of interest in it. And this guy, and it fishes a little differently than nymphs, so I'm having to adjust. I don't fish anything like this, so I don't really know. But this guy, I threw it out there and he creamed it, man. Creamed it. I don't know what this thing's called. You guys, maybe someone out there can tell me. I'm a guy that's been fly fishing for, decades, but I don't know what anything's called. Trying to get under this grass, man. Get out of that grass. There he is. Oh, these fish are real hard fighting. There he is. Let's see if you can tell me what this thing is. I found it in a tree. Oh, no, he fell out. It's this thing. Let me get this guy in the water. Woo! He jumped out of the net. He jumped out of the net. I got him in the net, though. I put it in and he jumped right out. That was a nice rainbow, though. So I landed that fish. I just had him in the net. I just put him in there to rest, and he jumped out because the fly fell out of his mouth. It's bum fishing barbless. It's one of these things. I found it in a tree, and there's a lot of weeds on the bottom here. And as soon as I started throwing this thing out, they started tapping it. It's just, it doesn't really, they don't strike it like a nymph. So, kind of learning right now. kind of winging it, as some might say. That's gonna do it. I'm roasting, I'm burning up. And that's pretty much it. 5-foot leader, nymphs. I used that one thing for that one fish. And I missed a couple strikes. The best water to fish, I wanted to get in some of that rushing, moving water, but there were people posted up, and by the time they left, it's lunchtime, man. I gotta get some food in me. Fish were feeding. I'm not sure what it was on. It wasn't on the 5 or 6 flies that I had, so. I used to be a guy that would fly fish, you know. I'd have this big selection of dry flies and nymphs, and just somewhere along the line, I became a guy who, rather than carry a bunch of flies, I'm just gonna get really good at fishing a few kinds, which are primarily nymphs, and then I just do subtle things. I just, you know, I'll be drifting it, and I'll just give it a little tiny pop, and a lot of times they'll hit it. And, you know, I figure, rather than try to match their menu, I throw what's on my menu out there and try to make them eat it. And usually I can figure it out. Alpine lakes, no problem. You go to my backcountry playlists, I do the same thing in most of them. The only difference is in leader length. Sometimes I gotta have an 8-9 foot leader, and I gotta fish really deep so where my floating line's pointing straight up and down. In rivers a lot, I go as short as I can go, because I gotta be able to see the strike on my line, because I don't use an indicator. So I usually start out with like 5 or 6. You know, this river's not very big, so I'm not too worried about it. When I'm fishing small creeks, I'll go down to 3 feet. You can see that in some of my backcountry creek fishing. But this is fun. Got to run out, catch a few more fish. It's been a pretty good day between Patreon and YouTube. I'm going to be doing an overnight. I'm leaving tomorrow morning at like 4 a.m. and I'm going to do some fishing for the next couple days before work starts. So I hope you enjoy this little appetizer on the week. And it was better than last week, man. These rainbows are jumping, they're fighting. It was a good time. Thank you for joining me on Wilderness with Amani. Until next time.